You know, every time I walk over this bridge, I look for those screws.
My booby strap. Yeah. Screw, that would be bad.
Oh my God, that would be horrible.
Ooh, that would hurt so much.
You would not forget that.
How would you get out? Like, would you like untwist yourself off of it?
All right, brother, this is for the fans. So they saw my video on the stuff that we were supposed to bring.
Yep.
And you have sent them all out into the woods. And what are we doing right now?
Right now, we are focusing on building a mattress, something to lay on, because on the packing list, there wasn't one. You didn't have a sleep pad or whatever. So this time of year, the temperatures are really nice during the day. It might get, I don't know, what's going to be today? You know, 60?
70 degrees was the high.
It's going to be 70 degrees during the day, but 30 tonight.
30 tonight,
yeah. Give or take. And that's going to be pretty dang miserable if you don't have something really nice to lay on. So in this situation, you have to improvise it. You have to make some sort of mattress. So you've got some tools that you can use, poncho, trash bag, that kind of stuff. Your knife, obviously, you can craft stuff.
And it's amazing how many people did not pay attention to the packing list.
Yeah.
Some people can't read these days.
It's easy to pack for this trip. There's not a whole lot there.
Right.
What was there, like 6
8
items?
items.
Eight including
the pack.
Yeah, which doesn't really even
pack.
count. So yeah, 8 total items, which isn't a whole lot, but it's enough to not die tonight.
I did like how you opened up your speech earlier too. Like, what is today about?
Yeah.
Right. Today's
not dying 101.
Not dying 101. I really like that a lot.
I strongly believe that every human being, whether you're an outdoorsman or you are, a businessman, like, doesn't matter. Every human being should have the ability to go outside tonight in below freezing temperatures and not die.
With minimal tools.
Yeah, that's
as
it.
well.
That's it. I think with the stuff in your pockets, generally speaking, if you've got a lighter, a way to start fire or whatever, you should be able to not die.
Right, and this is something that everybody could do. They could put a small pack with and they don't have to have the fancy stuff like we carry or whatever. No. They can have, just a small kit in their car.
Very small, and this would solve 99%
of the problems.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really what we're trying to say here. So today is all about fundamentals. I like that, because over at Field of Fires, that's really what we focus on. Is the basics. People cannot get the fundamentals
I don't
down.
think there's anything such thing as like advanced survival.
Oh, the people out there can make it happen.
Yeah, I just think it's just the basics done really, really well.
Yeah.
Like that's it, just the basics. Yeah.
All right, so let's get out there and get it done. All right, so one of the things that Jason talked to the class about was picking out your spot, right? You got to think about the W's. And what I did was I just went out, kind of surveyed the property. What resources do I have available to me? And if you look over here, I've got a lot of downed pine right in here. See all of that right there? That's great for when we have to start a fire. And also, if you look down here on the ground, there's all of this ground cedar, ground pine. People call it different things, but that's gonna make a really good mattress for me to get up off of the ground, because it's going to be warm today, but it's going to get really cold tonight. So what I did was I went ahead and hung up my pack and my jacket. You want to start out cold. You don't want to be hot while you're doing this. We don't want to sweat any more than we have to. And so yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started. And look who showed up.
Prowling.
So one of the things that we were allowed to bring was a large, this is a 6 mil trash bag. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it up with duff and a lot of this ground cedar, because I want to make sure that I get up off of the ground and I have enough insulation to keep me warm tonight. All right, now that we got the heart rate up and everything, if you'll take a look at this trash bag right here, you can see all this ground cedar that I've got in there, and look how it's attached to the roots. It runs on the ground. And when you throw a bunch of it into the bag like this, provides a really nice mattress for you. And I also included, some of the duff as well to make it a little bit more dense. But you can see this area here that I've worked. All right, this is not the area that I'm actually going to be laying in. I wanted to get material over here instead of over here where I'm actually going to be staying at, because I can take advantage of what's already on the ground and stay hydrated.
Get whiskey in there?
Potato water from Homeland. All right, so admittedly, I'm supposed to be setting up my mattress right now, but possum mentality, check this out. See all this? I mean, can you believe this? Look how much poplar bark I have found. I'm gonna pull this down off of this tree because, oh my God, that is so much tinder. That is gonna be perfect. Major score right here. ADD moment. All right, so I'm back to my mattress project, and you can tie these off. You don't have to have the entire length of your body. You basically want it from your neck, where your core is, down past your butt. In this case, I want to take advantage of the full mattress. So instead of tying it off, you can just fold the end over. And if you've got some duct tape on your lighter.
Is that contraband?
What? Oh, it wasn't on the list, was it? Oh, we're gonna have to tie it off. I totally forgot about that. But isn't duct tape standard on a lighter? Yeah. Isn't it supposed to be?
I agree.
Well, I got another idea, because I have 25 feet of paracord, and instead of tying off the bag, what I can do is I can bunch it up right here at the end, and I can tie it off. That way I've got a bigger mattress to sleep on tonight. Always keep some paracord in your pocket. So the question is, what is JJ doing? Oh, you're not filming now.
Oh, yeah.
Siesta. Let's take a look at what Jason's son and daughter have done. Check this out. Filled this whole trash bag up with duff and creeping cedar. Look what she's done. This is pretty impressive, brother. I'm impressed with you. Let me see if I can get down for scale to show y'all how big that is. And how are you gonna sleep on it? Are you gonna sleep in it?
I don't know. Somewhere.
Get on top of it. Let's see what you look like on top of it. See how it lays. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. That's a pro job right there. Boom. Okay, now while I was waiting for the other people to get their mattresses done, I just went ahead and started making use of my time. Started gathering up a bunch of fire material. I've got my smalls right here and other stuff that I can burn. And since we can't use a saw or an axe or anything like that, I'm gonna have to use the fire to process it. But I also found some fat wood that I got right there. That's gonna be nice. Found some charcoal, and we may play with that here in a little while, see what we can do. Then obviously there is my tinder, which I've put out in the sun. Oh, and then right next to this, look at all this pine that I got on this dead tree. All this for starting the fire. Yeah, I think we got fire covered, but the next exercise is to actually put up a cover element. So let's do that. Check this out. Just like that. All right, let me show you how easy that was. Take you on a tour. Look at the inside, plenty of room in there. I've got a stick in my hat. Make sure I don't poke a hole in the top of it. But there's my mattress. And you can see I've got it tied off right here to the stakes. That's what pulls this flap out like this and creates the doorway. And then I've got one more that I've tied off here to this tree. Just did the same thing on the other side, and back here had to do a little bushcraft. I didn't have any more cordage, so just used some poplar bark and tied it off. And if you look at this side, that's the profile. That gives me enough space for my head right there. There it is, fully enclosed. And I have done a video on this. Go back and check out that video on how to do it. All right, pro tip time. Anytime you get done with things like stuff sacks, make sure that you put them back in the pack. Like I got my water. You want to keep everything together. You always want to keep it together. And all this stuff that I have hanging out here, like my my jacket and my thermals that I had on this morning. You never know, like we could be out down by the creek or something and it could start raining, and you want to make sure that you protect everything that you can. So now that we have a shelter built, we can go ahead and we can put this stuff on the inside so we know where it's at. This is literally one of the things that I see people get wrong all the time. You want to make sure you keep everything together, stay neat, stay disciplined. And you'll notice I put everything on top of the bag because in case it rains and water comes down, I mean, it's good habits. You got to establish good habits when you're doing this stuff. It's just real easy when you get working. You'll set something down and then you'll lose it. So make sure you stay ahead. I'm telling you guys, little things like that are what really matter. So right now, Jason's doing a demonstration on collecting water. You can see he's got his bandana on his cup.
I've got pretty dang clean water. Like you look in there, this is a nice stream, but it's even cleaner because I filtered it through the clock. So that's pretty nice, fresh, clean water right there that looks safe to drink. Is it safe to drink? Probably not, because I don't know what's upstream of this. Something might have took a dump right upstream, and I don't know. There might be a dead deer 100 yards upstream that's just rotting and decaying in the river.
So it looks like we're collecting water.
So
Stream's pretty clear right now, but obviously you don't want to drink it if you don't have to. In an emergency, yes. If you think it's only going to be 2 or 3 days, you know that you're going to be out of pocket, then go ahead and drink the water because we can pump you full of antibiotics at the end of it. But yeah, just doing basic water collection right now, using a piece of cotton, a bandana. If you got something else, you could use your shirt or a sock or whatever you happen to have in your pack. But you know, it's a lot easier than actually having to go out and make some kind of natural filter. Because here we're trying to teach, you know, reserve those calories. Ugh. Thorns, always thorns. So what we're doing right now is Jason is taking us out, and I think he's going to do a fire demonstration because we're going to have to boil the water that we collected out of that creek. They'll reach out and touch you. And of course, we have to go up hills. Y'all know how much I love hills.
This is what I'm talking about right here, guys. So this is a spring. You see that water? Right there? It's coming out of the earth. It's filtered through all of the earth right here. The rain comes down up here on the hillside. It gets soaked into the earth. It just gets attracted downhill. It gets pulled downhill and into this little drainage right here, and eventually pops out right here. Sometimes this is flowing all the way down, but sometimes that's just this tiny little trickle like this right here. But this water right here, I would feel 100% safe drinking. Into a hole big enough to where I could collect it into my container. You dig deep enough to where you're like when you dip your cup in there, your water bottle, you're not disturbing the sediment that's on the bottom. That's important. I can just bend down and slurp it right off the top. That's usually going to be your best bet. Really nice, clean water that I would drink 100%, and I wouldn't have any issues with it.
And that would save you so much time and energy. Us Georgia boys, we drink out of springs all the time. Like, I can't even think of a single time that I've ever boiled it. If that little girl can get out and train, so can you.
As I was walking along, I would gather up some tinder off my tree. And I would just keep adding to this as I go along. I could put this in my bandana, I could stick it in my pocket, which is what I'm gonna do. Like that. And then we move on. And as long as you're not soaking wet or sweaty, then you can just leave it in your pocket and it's good. And so as we walk along, be looking for tinder, guys, not just the beech leaves, but also tulip poplar is probably the best thing around. Tulip poplar inner bark is probably the best thing that we have for tinder. So be looking out for those. There's no tulip poplars right here in this immediate area, but we'll see some as we get over that way. So this stump is here, and it's been dead for a long time. I mean, this thing has been here for years and years and years. And there's a reason why it's still here and hasn't rotted away. And why do you think that is? Inside of this wood is what preserves it. And just so happens, pine resin is really flammable. It burns super hot, really, really good. And this is probably, I'd go out on a limb and say, pretty much the best thing out there to help you start your fire. There's not really anything better than this. It burns for a long time, a tiny piece, a tiny sliver. I mean, like if it was this big, that would probably burn for like 10, 15 minutes. Long, long time if you get a good piece that's got a lot of resin in it. And this stump right here is completely chock full of it. If I was to set this thing on fire, it would burn for hours probably. That rich gold color, and if you smell it, you'll smell what I'm talking about. In a second, I'll let you see what I'm talking about. But if I just do that right there, and I kind of shelter it from the wind, stick it in here in a little cave. So this stuff is pretty dang awesome. If you get a few chips of this going, it doesn't matter, your fire will go eventually. You can put some pretty wet, nasty crap on there, and this will just keep on burning for a long time. So if I just had a stick, if I had a stick of this in my pocket, or if I had a stick of it in my pack or whatever like that, this, you don't even have to use all of it. You could just use part of it. You could light it on fire, stick it underneath there, and then once my kindling catches on fire, which we'll talk about in a minute, I could pull it out and then save the rest of it, right? Does that make sense? So this, look for stumps in the ground. You can probably find more. If there's pines around, you'll probably find one of these.
Up the hill we go.
After we do tinder, right, we talked about the beech leaves, talked about tulip poplar, which hopefully we'll find some in a second. I can show you what it looks like if you don't know already. We're gonna move on to kindling, and kindling needs to look like this. Tiny, tiny, tiny little twigs. You guys see that? Most people, when they try to start fires, they try to start with stuff like this. They try to start with big stuff. Don't do that. Don't make that mistake. If you want to be successful, start with little tiny, teeny, tiny twiggies. I call these teenies. I call this size right here in-betweenies. And then I call anything bigger than this bigs. Okay, so start with teenies. Little tiny ones like that right there. Size of like a pencil lid. Okay, and I need a lot of them. I need a lot of them. So this is off of a pine tree. This is a white pine. That's the best. That is the best thing around here. See this one here? See all those dead branches? I need teeny tiny ones like that. So you guys can help me out. I want you guys to gather as many of these little tiny ones as you can get in about 2 minutes. Ready, set, go. Go get your own tree. Get out of here. We're surrounded by trees. Only the dead ones, no green ones. They need to be tiny. Do not bust them up into like 3-inch pieces. Leave them long like this. See this? Leave them long. Do not bust them up into tiny twigs. Excellent. Keeping it long like that gives me the teenies and the in-betweenies, and that's what I want. This is, I'd say, the absolute minimum in good weather. If it was raining and wet and stuff, this is not enough. I would want more, okay? But I would say this is the absolute minimum to get my fire started, and I think you guys will get it. But do not try to start your fire with less than this right here. You understand? If you can wrap your fingers around it where my fingers touch like this, it's not enough. You need more, okay? Get more. So kiddos, clear me a spot. Clear me like a 4 or 5 foot spot. Mo bigger. With the bigs, I'll make myself a bed for my fire. Not as big of a deal in dry weather like this, but if it's wet, it's a big, big deal. Take that. So let's say it's raining, right? Like it rained all over my firewood, right? Not a big deal as long as we take our time and we do this right. Go, left you a swig. All right, if everything is wet, I have to do a little bit more to my firewood. And what I would want to do is I would take my knife, usually the back of my knife, and I would just scrape off the wetness. The outside of the wood might be wet, but the inside typically stays dry. With it, If it's dry like this, right, I could start the fire right now in like 2 seconds because it's so dry. But that's rarely the situation. It's never beautiful like this when you actually need a fire. So I scraped off the outside, and I'm gonna build myself a mattress, just like you guys did for yourselves. You want to build something like that for your fire.
Talking with someone might help. If you like, I can search the web for suicide prevention hotline.
Bro, it's a sign from
Please,
God.
please search it. I'm struggling.
We have a despondent category
What
1.
just happened?
Siri,
She said you're welcome. What the?
make sure she didn't call emergency services.
Yikes! Yeah, seriously.
Take over.
Did we just dial 911, Siri?
Siri's building a case. Hey Siri.
No, she gave up on me. She said it's too late.
It's over.
She said you're done for. You've lived a good life. Let it go. All right. Feather sticks look like this. I make little curls, small little curls, and what that does is it increases the surface area of the wood, and it makes it easier to ignite. And with a little bit of practice, you can make some pretty good curls. And that inside wood is dry. This is wet. I can feel the wetness. This is dry and warm. If your hands are cold and you can't tell, if your hands are numb, you won't know if it's wet and cold. Sometimes you can just stick it to your face and you could tell, put it on your cheek. Yeah, that's cold and wet. That's warm and dry. So I make myself some feather sticks like this, if it's wet. And if it was wet, if it was actively raining or it had just finished raining, I would make at least 20 feather sticks. That's a general rule of mine. If you make 20, I haven't failed when I've made 20. 20 is the number. Could you get away with 15? Probably. Just make 20, okay? And that's what I do. I take one of my in-betweenies, like there, finger-sized one, and I make a feather stick. And once it gets kind of like this and starts to get kind of thin, I make some bigger, chunky feathers. And then I break it off, and now I've got a feather stick, and I put that right here. Now, the rest of my smalls, my little teenies, right, this stuff is all wet. So what I would do is I'd process this down a little bit. This is a pretty good stack of teenies. So what I would usually do is just break this in half, like that, and I would select some of my best pieces, my smallest ones, to add onto the fire first, right? I'd take the smallest ones, kind of like that. I'd make a pile there. I'd sort through this stuff. Again, if it was really, really wet, I'd have to make more feather sticks. So maybe what you guys can do right now is you can make me a feather stick. Enough to do all the things. Big enough to do all the knife
And yes,
carving,
Gray Man
crafting
candy
type
feathers.
tasks. It cuts the cordage. It does all the stuff that you need it to do.
where are all the feather sticks?
I need 20.
20 of
I
them.
see like
Hello?
6.
I mean, we can do it for you, but you're not going to learn unless you do it.
What is that? Gotta practice with our knives, being able to control them.
One of these things just doesn't belong here.
You can't really have too much tinder. Can't have too much kindling. You could definitely use it.
Not to mention if you need it for a second fire if you fail.
Yeah, or if you fall asleep and the fire goes out, and then you're like, ah, crap. All I got's these big logs now. You need a bunch. You need a bunch, even if you don't use them all to start with.
It's a bad feeling.
Yeah. So now what I like to do, this is just my method. There's a million ways to do this, but this is how I do it. I take a prop stick like this, and I stick it in the ground at kind of a shallow angle like that right there. And what that does is it allows me to pile stuff on top without squishing my tinder. Why would I not want to squish the tinder?
Because then it won't light on fire.
Why? Because it doesn't breathe. It doesn't get any air underneath it. Right. So, and it helps contain my tinder bundle too. So what I would do, since I have a lighter and I'm not using a ferro rod, I might do it slightly different with a ferro rod, but with a lighter, this is exactly how I would do it. I would take my feather sticks and I would just place them gently on top, kind of like that. And then I'd take all of my kindling, my wet kindling that I poured water all over, and I would set it gently on top. Just like this. Very loosey-goose. Now, when I say loose, I don't mean, I've seen people try to start fires and they have their fire lay like this. It's all like spread out all over the place. Fire likes friends. If your sticks are too far apart, they will not feed each other the heat that they need to consume one another. They need to be close enough to each other. Not like a compressed, tied up ball, but they need to be close enough where they can share the heat from each other. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now, I'm ready to start my fire. I 100% guarantee that if I light this crap on fire underneath here, this tinder, whoosh, flame is going to happen. Okay? Who wants to light it for me? Scarlett, you're ready.
I can light it.
That's it. So with a single flick of her lighter, she got the tinder going, and since we got a little bit of breeze, we don't have to help it. The breeze is blowing it for us. And since we prepared our fire properly, we really don't have to do anything now. A lot of people, they'll light their fire and then they're trying to do all these little things with sticks and twigs and they're putting it out and they're frustrated because they didn't prepare in the beginning. If you do it all in the beginning, it's easy. I can just sit back now and let this catch up, and then I can start adding my in-betweenies and my bigs on top. Once the flames kind of start catching that stuff on fire, and I can see it starting to burn, I can hear it crackling, I can take my in-betweenies and I can start laying them on there. If it's wet, put it on pretty quick because you want it to start drying out.
And your shield.
I keep putting my stuff on there, my firewood on top, just kind of right on top so it can dry out. And that, my friends, is going to be a sustainable fire. And then after this catches on fire and I get these going, I can put bigger fuel, like arm-size fuel on there.
Like logs.
Yeah, like actual logs. Make sense? If you do it this way and you don't cut corners and you don't cheat, I promise you will have fire. If you cut corners, you don't do it this way, you come up with something new, you might have fire.
Right.
But if you do it this way, you will have fire. Maybe burn my clothes up.
See, and here's the thing, as instructors, we do these demonstrations, and it's always interesting to see what people do afterwards. Like, can they actually get that to happen?
All right?
We'll see.
Fire.
Walk into it with your hips. Bingo. You don't need to be cutting stuff. Don't use your tools unless you need them.
Dude,
Don't take your knives out. Like, don't use them.
check this out.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's legit.
I'll put my bandana to see if it'll dry. Got it.
It's legit.
You did really good.
If we have like big firewood,
Proud of you.
right here.
Give me some. Good job.
Legit shelters, girls.
Look, they even have movies?
Reading
Look.
materials.
Oh, those are books.
Yeah,
And hairbrushes.
Wow.
You gotta have good hair when you're camping.
yeah.
Oh, looking good.
My hair gets crazy.
That's step one.
Yeah, you have to look good in the woods.
Yep.
For
No,
sure.
my hair gets crazy and very naughty.
Very naughty. Yeah, doing really good on fire prep too. Look at
I let her
this.
borrow my knife because she can't find her.
Separating it out.
Here you go, Lighter.
Heck yeah. Quite impressive what these young ladies have done.
Crushing it.
Bro, show us what you're working with here. Look at that.
Just rip this out of the ground.
Just got it out of the ground. So, are you gonna start like a whole forest fire?
Probably. If I don't have enough room in my spot, I'll just burn the whole.
That's a score right there. For those of you that have been keeping up with the channel, you know that I'm doing the year without fire challenge. So anytime I go out and I do these survival challenges, I try to do everything without fire. The reason that I do that is because it's basically an element of fieldcraft and trying to stay stealthy and learning how to deal with problems without actually having the fire to give up my potential location. So just for the sake of coming out here and doing this challenge with Jason, I went ahead and I gathered up all the firewood and the tinder and the fire extenders and, you know, everything that I needed to actually have a fire. And then I told the kids that are in my area, like, you can use those supplies for your fire if you want to. And as you can see, Scarlett is taking advantage of that right now. The thing is, when you have a fire like this, because it's gonna get pretty cold tonight, you need a lot of it. I mean, it takes, you know, whatever you think, you know, you've gathered up, it's not enough. You need more. And a big part of setting up your shelter is making sure that all the supplies are right around you. Now, in this case, there was absolutely no shortage of supplies. I would say literally in a span of about 200 yards, I literally have everything that I need to get by for multiple days. Now, we just got done going up that mountain over there. That's where we did all the demonstrations, how to make fire. So we went up the mountain and then we came back down. And something that I think people forget is that you need to take time to rest. In a survival scenario, it's actually critical because this is the time that you need to think. It's the time that you need to make plans. It's time that you need to hydrate or address any kind of injuries that you might potentially have. It also gives you time to address your shelter and, you know, ask yourself, you know, what more do I need to do to it to make it as good as I can possibly make it? The thing is, the more physical that you are, you're burning calories. And if you're not replacing them, I mean, you're gonna go downhill really fast. Now, since we went on a walkabout, we went up that mountain, one of the things that I planned in the very beginning was I went right next to this tree right here so I'd have a seat to sit down on. And the reason is to get the pressure off of my back. Like, we went up the mountain, I've been bending down, you know, pulling up all of this ground cedar and picking up firewood, finding dead standing wood, breaking it between trees. You know, we've been pretty physical. And a dry place to sit up off of the ground, especially if you're older, I mean, yeah, it's nice. So at the very beginning, I looked around at all the resources that were around me, and in a matter of literally about 2 hours, I had everything done that I needed to do, which gave me the opportunity to go around and help other people get their stuff situated. Now, I gotta say, I'm actually pretty impressed with the kids. I mean, if you get out there and you give them solid instruction, I mean, you saw some of the stuff that they actually came up with. Honestly, they did a lot better than some of the adults that I've seen. And really, if your kids are 5 or 6, you know, 9 or 10, I think is about the perfect age to get out there and start teaching them these skills. But the earlier you start them, I mean, the better. And the thing is, kids have tons of energy, right? And if they get focused on something, I mean, they'll over-focus on it, and maybe they forget about some of the other priorities of survival. Like, maybe they focus just on their bed or just on their shelter. You know, some of them are like, I want to do the water thing. I want to boil the water. You know, they have a hard time managing their priorities, but, you know, that's what you're there for, right? I think one thing that bothered the kids is they wanted to know, like, well, how did you do all of that so fast? Well, when you've done it 5 billion times, it's pretty easy. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take the time to go ahead and charge up the camera and the mics and the receiver and all of that stuff, and I'll get back with y'all here in a little while. Okay, got the camera charged up a little bit and the mics, just enough for us to film anyway. Been helping the kids out. Now we're gonna check out what the adults are doing.
Not sure what to do with my hands. All right, so a couple little tips, because I have spent the night out and I've been absolutely miserable a whole bunch of times. So I've learned what works and what doesn't work, and I know what the situation's gonna be like. So initially, Jordan has fixed this to some degree. I think it looks really good at the moment. I messed up his shelter. This is why it's all floppy. I did that. I messed it up. But he had his fire out here. And the reason he had his fire out here was because he didn't want the fire to be too close to his tarp and burn his tarp, which I understand. Like, I totally get that. But here's what would happen. He'd be in his shelter, without knocking it down, he'd be in his shelter like this, curled up and sleeping, but the fire was way over there. What would happen is he would end up in the middle of the night getting out of his shelter and being curled up next to the fire like this, because he's so cold, because we don't have a sleeping bag, right? And you're gonna be sleeping next to the fire and you're gonna be blowing on it all night long, and you're gonna be feeding it sticks all night long, and this is gonna be your best friend.
This is like a classic Kephart story.
This is what you're gonna end up with all night. So I suggested that he moves his fireplace, his fire pit, closer to his shelter, because that's where he's gonna end up anyway. And now we're just kind of fine tuning little detailed stuff like that you're only gonna learn by doing it. So he's got this going on here, which isn't terrible, and it's not wrong, and it's working, right? It's working, and it'll probably stay there, or it won't. So the better way to do it is to take a prop stick like this one right here, and let's say you've got some cordage sticking out, which he already did. I take the cordage around the stick like that, and then I stake this piece of cordage down to the ground. It's too short at the moment, but I'm gonna stick that in the ground, and that will support it. And this is much more secure than that is. That could pop out in the wind. This isn't gonna pop out in the wind.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and if I was really worried, I could come back around the cordage and go like that and
Yep.
really secure it if you were worried about it, but it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, that'll work great.
Yep. Is this thing on?
Yes. Let's.
So my friend
testing.
Nathan built this for his family, and clearly he doesn't love them. So that he plans on sleeping in here with his wife and young children, and I don't know if they're going to make it, to be honest with you. So let's take a look.
Yeah, let's. Yeah, MTV Cribs FTF edition here. Let's do this.
Let's check this thing out. So first of all, he uses a bunch of dead wood, which clearly, is termite infested, and again shows a lack of consideration and care. But inside of the nest that they've made,
look at this.
it's pretty good actually.
Yeah.
That's significantly.
That's a lot of duff.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a good bed right there.
Are all the sticks out?
Yeah, most of them. A few little twiggies
few little
that they'll
twigs here and
probably end
there.
up finding in the middle
They'll
of the night.
find them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then throw them out.
Yeah.
Feed the fire with them. This is a little saggy, if he can live with that, then fine.
Then you can.
But,
Maybe he's collecting water though.
perhaps. Maybe that's his plan. Maybe
That's-
he's...
Just holding the door open. We're gonna let that last one go.
Oh, so there's a plan.
Is that why this
This is-
knot is here?
So
No.
Like
where
it's a
you
stopper
would just
knot?
Unhook it where the.
unhook from this
Yeah,
and
you-
drop it down. Just close it in.
Oh, I see.
So their plan is this,
Gotcha.
to close it in.
Oh,
like a
look at that.
tent.
We should have had the homeowners explain
They had a
what
plan.
was going on. Yeah,
They're not as dumb as we thought.
that's pretty awesome. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, that'll work. So far, I approve.
This is good. Yeah,
Yeah, that'll work.
I dig it.
Okay. Yep, no fire, no plan for a fire. They think that they'll be cozy
Oh,
enough
they're
in
doing the
there
no fire thing
without
too.
fire, with no
All right,
sleeping
cool.
bags, and
Yeah.
that's cool. I dig it. Warm.
Seriously though, this is a good shelter. Like if you've got a family, what they've done here, I mean, that's really good. Good job, guys.
Yeah, we were off camera. We were talking about his plan is to close up the gaps with duff all the way around.
Yep.
And close off the airflow, so it's going to be completely enclosed in there. Little cocoon of warmth.
Yeah, I'm digging it. Honey smack digging, baby.
Most likely they won't die.
Nope. All right, so here it is. The sun has gone down. It is nighttime. And if you look across, you can see, let me turn off the, well, maybe I can keep the light on. You can see the fires going all throughout the woods. So everybody's got a fire started. They've all boiled their water and are getting ready to turn in for the night. But I've got a feeling Jason has something that's a surprise. So here's Jason's fire, and if you look, he's basically feeding it. There's a light. So he's got these long sticks and limbs that he's just feeding the fire. And the reason he's doing that is he doesn't want a huge fire. He just wants a small fire that's gonna burn all night. Let's go check out and see what the rest of the people have got going on. So there's Scarlett's fire. You are nice and toasty, aren't you? And it looks like she's got a lot of firewood. You gonna be able to keep it going all night? Good job. You already settled in for the night? Man, you have got a cod roaster going here. Look at all this firewood he piled up. It's gonna burn forever. He's burning that fat wood that I showed y'all earlier. I think this is the best setup I've seen you do. All right, let's go see what the rest of them have.
That fat wood are you burning?
All of it.
Like, did you turn that whole stuff down?
Yes, yeah, both legs of it are on fire right now. It's pretty impressive though, like what everybody's got going on. What about over there?
It's a good fire. Everyone's solid, man.
Yeah.
The little girls are good.
Okay.
The two adults with the two littles are. It sounds like the little ones are sound asleep.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think they're all set.
I've had a big day. Everybody's tired, I can see. What's up? We'll come check out and see what y'all got going. A little safer and maybe a little bit more conservative over here.
I kind of decided that, also because my parents didn't use a fire, that if we both snuggle up under there, I don't think we'll need a fire as much.
No, yeah, if you both get in one of these, you'll be good.
Yeah, we'll
You know, something else you can do
What?
is you can take your bandana, put it on top of it. Did you use it to get the water out of the creek?
Yep.
Okay, well don't do that then. But if you hadn't, you could have put it on top and you could have reverse filtered it. Well, if you've already got that ground cedar in there, that's pretty good.
Yeah, we got quite a bit of insulation going on. I don't think we'll need it.
Plus you're gonna have each other's warmth too. You probably wake up about 2:30, 3 o'clock and be cold. You could have a good pile of coals though, and you could start the fire back up if you had enough wood.
Yeah, that's my.
I got a pile right here. Okay.
A cheerful breakfast fire.
Just make sure you're conservative with it
Yeah.
so it'll last for a long time. All right, I'm gonna go see what everybody else is doing.
Yep.
Good job. Check this out. That's what I'm talking about. Nice reflector.
Thank you, sir. It's warm in here. I had to take my jacket off.
Yeah, I hear you get warm in there real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good idea to come back and move this closer to the actual shelter.
Yeah, I'm glad I did that and raised it up too. It gets a lot more heat under here.
Plus you got all the firewood right there that you can just grab with your hand.
Yeah.
Put it right here. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So it looks like everybody's actually done a pretty good job. It's nice when people listen and you can reap the reward. Oh, I see something happened here. Oh, let me turn the light on. Here we go. Oops. Where is he?
He's buried in there. Okay, good. Glad you feel that way.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
That's bad.
You know, the only reason I'm laughing is because Jason has done this to me. You have joined the ranks. We'll get you a patch later. He's going all the way too. No, 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 no.
I'm so proud of you and all of the work that you've done.
Why are you doing that?
I just think you're so great.
What the heck? You're evil.
The suffering.
You are evil.
The suffering.
You are an evil person. You're an evil person. Evil.
You know, if you ever wondered, Jason is a sadist, but at the same time, he suffers with us, so I'm not sure it counts. Let me show you something.
Come on, real quick. I know. Say how proud I am of you.
That's exactly what I said. I just kept sleeping.
Take that.
Alright, now this is where the suffering starts.
The suffering is about to begin.
What do you want?
The suffering.
The suffering.
Left out our fire.
More suffering.
We're not gonna use it anymore.
Here, check that out. You see it? Yeah, not bad. Not bad. That's pretty good.
Break my rock.
Oh yeah, watch out for that. I don't think they're quite that hot yet.
Oh, good. Good. Now I'm getting wet.
Good. The suffering will begin.
Oh, I gotta pee.
The rainstorm came in, guys. I don't know what to tell you. It's crazy.
Could you do that all night? Like, that'd be good sleep.
Good simulation.
So now everybody's awake again.
All curled up in a fetal position. It's so warm and cozy. Sucker. I propose that we all take a quick dip in the pond and or the creek.
No.
No. Okay.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, so no.
No.
That's a firm no.
No, that's a firm
Yes,
no
it's a
from
very
everybody.
firm no.
All right. All right, then we're not doing that.
Thinking about subjecting the littles to that?
Yes.
No.
You think because they're age impaired that they get to miss out on the fun? They'll be fine. I think later in life they'll enjoy it.
Later
Yeah.
in life, they'll definitely.
I think later in life they'll enjoy it. So 10-mile hike.
Morning.
No, not doing that one. No, that's over.
We're not doing it.
I'm not doing that.
I have some ideas. Are you guys ready for the suffering to begin?
All asleep.
Everyone was asleep.
You were asleep, Nathan?
Yeah, everybody was asleep.
To announce the suffering with Salyer has begun. Follow me.
No.
Come on. Quit. Don't lose my light. Stop it. All right, guys, bring it in so I can talk to you real quick. I'll present the next challenge to you this evening, now that you're all awake. So I am much more confident in everybody's abilities to not die in the woods, which is fantastic.
Hello.
I strongly believe that every human being should be able to walk into the woods and not die, at least for the short term. And I'm much more confident in each and every single one of you, even you, turd, even you, much more confident in each and every single one of you. So I thought, instead of my typical suffering with Salyer events, I would reward you.
Whoa.
Would you guys like to go inside and watch a movie?
Yes.
What? Hold on a second.
So we've got snacks.
Are you sick?
So we got snacks,
We got
and we got
snacks?
movies, and there's a heat in there. There's heat, there's blankets. It's gonna be super cozy. We can just have a slumber party. It's gonna be fantastic. We can do pillow fights. I don't know what's gonna happen.
I'm going to jump in the creek myself if you don't stop.
Let's go. I'm being serious. Go inside. Take your shoes off.
Stop.
Oh my God.
All right, don't go inside. I'm going in.
You want to go to the
I'm going
Holy
inside.
cow.
I'm going inside.
We get to sleep inside. We have orange juice, kettle popcorn, donuts. What do you think, Harvey? Are there donuts in there?
Yeah, there's some donuts left. You guys cut those in half.
Jason lost his mind? What's going on?
Dude, what has happened?
Look at her
Wait,
hair, like covered
the
in
world
leaves.
did end in 2012.
Jacket.
Tell the folks how you do that, Kate.
Well, first we gotta find a tornado to suck up our super absorbent polymers and heat rebels.
And now we're gonna analyze the movie.
Yeah. The survival movie.
It's on topic.
As the sun comes up, you may be wondering, what happened last night? Has Jason lost his mind? Did he have a vision in the fire? Has he finally matured? Could he be sick? Or maybe he just wants to remain a man of mystery. He did it for the kids. Or maybe you're just taking this stuff a little bit too seriously and you're forgetting to live. Because if it ever was the end of the world, what's the thing that you're gonna miss the most? Quality time with each other.